My mum did take me to Sunday school every single Sunday. My dad didn't used to go to church at all with us, and one day when my brother was born, my mum tells a story of when the sermon was going on and on, it was a bit long, and apparently I shouted out really loudly, "Next week I'm staying with Daddy," and we didn't really go after that. I always would have told you that I believed in God. I would have called myself a Christian. Church at Christmas was always part of my Christmas. I would have probably ticked Christian on a form, but it didn't have anything to do with my everyday life. I never had a living, active faith. I never knew Jesus. I didn't know Jesus needed to be part of my life. I didn't go to church except for Christmas because that's kind of what you did. I got married in my early 20s, and a couple of years into our marriage, Robin, my husband, suggested we started going to church. Found out by that point that he actually, as a child and growing into his teens, also was quite active in the church. His faith was a very active part of his life. Something happened. I hit quite a low point in life. I was struggling with life quite a bit, and a friend suggested I ask for prayer. I sought out a well-trusted, wise woman. I went round to her house for a cup of coffee and cried quite a lot, and she asked if I'd asked Jesus for help, and I had not, so I said no, I have not. And she asked if she could pray for me, and I was really tempted to say no, it's fine, I'm absolutely okay, but something inside me just said yes, please do pray for me. And quite literally there and then, the sort of cloud of mild depression, I suppose, was lifted from me, and I felt this internal sense of peace and being loved unconditionally. And from that moment on, really, my life has changed. I just know that I'm loved. I know that Jesus is always there beside me. I can do all things if he chooses me to do them, and I guess you live with this internal joy that nothing can change. My favourite aspect about the story of Jesus is that he speaks to everybody in their own language. And I thought about the shepherds, and they, the shepherds weren't the brightest bunch, but they had to be shocked into action. And so the angels came with loud, clashes of cymbals, and the wise men were spoken to by a star because that's the language that they spoke in. And I just think Jesus speaks to all of us absolutely individually, and no one else can do that. No one else speaks to you in a way that is unique to you. People love stories, don't they? People are really nosy about other people's lives, and no one can tell your story except you. No one can tell someone of the change that Jesus has made in your life. I just think stories matter and people relate to them, and I think my story is quite boring, but there'll be someone out there who can relate to my story as well as someone else's. But how can they call on him to save them unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they have never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? That is why the scriptures say, "How beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news." But not everyone welcomes the good news. For Isaiah the prophet said, "Lord, who has believed our message?" So faith comes from hearing, that is, hearing the good news about Christ.